Good day, friends. Welcome to yet another Gord's Poetry Show, number 62 in a long unfolding line of exquisite poetry projected by yours truly and a number of interviewees. Today, late January 2019, I would like to honor the passing of two, I think it'd be safe to say they're both American, two American poets. Mary Oliver, uh, widely published and recognized, slightly criticized by some for being, I don't know, a little too simple in her diction, I think. Not for me. But I was alerted by some remarks in a New Yorker a while back that there's some folk think that she's got a reputation way beyond her accomplishments. Well, I don't agree, but that's what literature's all about, writing and arguing. And the other poet, not so well known, from Albuquerque, New Mexico, although he seems to have spent quite a bit of time either in and around and communicating with poets in Toronto. Richard Huttel, who passed just last week, I believe. And I've read from both these poets before in various poetry shows, but I just thought, no, let's honor their passing, and just open up to the beautiful messages that they left us. And for that, I will be the interlocutor or whatever. Mary Oliver's 2015 book, Blue Horses, which I guess so dark in here you probably can't see it. Yeah. Painting by Franz Marc on the cover of the infamous Blue Horses. And it's a cloudy day today. I don't know if I can get much more light in here than I've got. It was sunny the other day, but blazingly sunny, but not today. And, I'm mistaken. That book, Blue Horses, was published in 2014. An entire year in error. Oh, tisk, tisk. Simple and direct, heart-centered, and full of praise. That's what this book's all about. After reading Lucretius, I go to the pond. The slippery green frog that went to his death in the heron's pink throat was my small brother. And the heron, with the white plumes like a crown on his head, who is washing now his great sword beak in the shining pond, is my tall, thin brother. My heart dresses in black and dances. What can I do? The television has two instruments that control it. I get confused. The washer asks me, do you want regular or delicate? Honestly, I just want clean. Everything is like that. I won't even mention cell phones. I can turn on the light of the lamp beside my chair where a book is waiting. But that's about it. Oh yes, and I can strike a match and make fire. Next one is dedicated to Coleman Barks, the well-known translator of Rumi's poetry. And the title is Rumi. When Rumi went into the tavern, I followed. I heard a lot of crazy talk and a lot of wise talk. But the roses wouldn't grow in my hair. When Rumi left the tavern, I followed. I don't mean just to peek at such a famous fellow. Indeed, he was rather ridiculous with his long beard and his dusty feet. But I heard less of the crazy talk and a lot more of the wise talk, and I was hopeful enough to keep listening until the day I found myself transformed into an entire garden of roses. First yoga lesson. Be a lotus in the pond, she said, opening slowly, no single energy tugging against another, but peacefully all together. I couldn't even touch my toes. Feel your quadriceps stretching? She asked. Well, something was certainly stretching. Standing impressively upright, she raised one leg and placed it against the other, then lifted her arms and shook her hands like leaves. Be a tree, she said. I lay on the floor exhausted. But to be a lotus in the pond, opening slowly and very slowly rising, that I could do. I don't want to be demure or respectable. I don't want to be demure or respectable. I was that way, asleep for years. That way you forget too many important things. How the little stones, even if you can't hear them, are singing. How the river can't wait to get to the ocean and the sky. It's been there before. What travelling is that? It is a joy to imagine such distances. I could skip sleep for the next 100 years. There is a fire in the lashes of my eyes. It doesn't matter where I am. It could be a small room. The glimmer of gold boom that he saw on the kitchen pot was missed by everyone else in the house. Maybe the fire in my lashes is a reflection of that. Why do I have so many thoughts? They are driving me crazy. Why am I always going anywhere instead of somewhere? Listen to me or not, it hardly matters. I'm not trying to be wise. That would be foolish. I'm just chattering. So many thoughts, they are driving me crazy. That's like that old Dylan song. Got a head full of ideas that are driving me insane. No matter what. No matter what the world claims, its wisdom is always growing. So it's said. Some things don't alter with time. The first kiss is a good example, and the flighty sweetness of rhyme. No matter what the world preaches, spring unfolds in its appointed time. The violets open and the roses. Snow in its hour builds its shining curves. There's the laughter of children at play and the wholesome sweetness of rhyme. No matter what the world does, some things don't alter with time. The first kiss, the first death, the sorrowful sweetness of rhyme. Angels. You might see an angel anytime and anywhere. Of course, you have to open your eyes to a kind of second level, but it's not really hard. The whole business of what's reality and what isn't has never been solved and probably never will be. So I don't care to be too definite about anything. I have a lot of edges called perhaps, and almost nothing you can call certainty. For myself, but not for other people. That's a place you just can't get into. Not entirely anyway. Other people's heads. I'll just leave you with this. I don't care how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. It's enough to know that for some people they exist and that they dance. What we want. In a poem, people want something fancy, but even more, they want something inexplicable made plain, easy to swallow, not unlike a suddenly harmonic passage in an otherwise difficult and sometimes dissonant symphony, even if it is only for the moment of hearing it. The Wasp. Why the wasp was on my bed I didn't know. Why I was in bed I did know. Why there wasn't room for both of us I didn't know. I watched it idly. Idleness can be a form of dying. I did know that. The wasp didn't communicate how it felt. It did look confused on the white sheet, as though it had landed somewhere in the Arctic. And it did flick its wings when I raised my legs, causing an upheaval. I didn't want to be lying there. I didn't want to be going in that direction. And so I say it was a gift when it rose into the air and, as wasps do, expressed itself in a sudden and well-aimed motion. Almost delicious was its deep, inflexible sting. Little Crazy Love Song. I don't want eventual, I want soon. It's 5 a.m. It's noon. It's dusk falling to dark. I listen to music. I eat up a few wild poems while time creeps along as though it's got all day. This is what I have. The dull hangover of waiting, the blush of my heart on the damp grass, the flower-faced moon. A gull broods on the shore where a moment ago there were two. Softly my right hand fondles my left hand, as though it were you. I woke. I woke and crept like a cat on silent feet about my own house. To look at you while you were sleeping, your hair sprayed on the pillow, your eyes closed, your body safe and solitary, and my doors shut for your safety and your comfort. I did this thinking I was intruding, yet wanting to see the most beautiful thing that has ever been in my house. Such silence. As deep as I ever went into the forest, I came upon an old stone bench, very, very old, and around it a clearing, and beyond that trees taller and older than I had ever seen. Such silence. It really wasn't so far from a town, but it seemed all the clocks in the world had stopped counting. So it was hard to suppose the usual rules applied. Sometimes there's only a hint, a possibility. What's magical sometimes has deeper roots than reason. I hope everyone knows that. I sat on the bench, waiting for something. An angel, perhaps, or dancers with the legs of goats. No, I didn't see either, but only, I think, because I didn't stay long enough. on meditating, sort of. Meditation, so I've heard, is best accomplished if you entertain a certain strict posture. Frankly, I prefer just to lounge under a tree. So why should I think I could ever be successful? Some days I fall asleep or land in that even better place, half asleep, where the world, spring, summer, autumn, winter, flies through my mind in its hardy ascent and its uncompromising descent. So I just lie like that, while distance and time reveal their true attitudes. They never heard of me and never will, or ever need to. Of course, I wake up finally, thinking, how wonderful to be who I am, made out of earth and water. My own thoughts, my own fingerprints, all that glorious, temporary stuff. Drifting. I was enjoying everything, the rain, the path wherever it was taking me, the earth roots beginning to stir. I didn't intend to start thinking about God, it just happened. How God or the gods are invisible, quite understandable. But holiness is visible entirely. It's wonderful to walk along like that. Thought not the usual intention to reach an answer, but merely drifting. Like clouds that only seem weightless, but of course are not, are really important. I mean terribly important. Not decoration by any means. By next week the violets will be blooming. Anyway, this was my delicious walk in the rain. What was it actually about? Think about what it is that music is trying to say. It was something like that. Forgive me. Angels are wonderful, but they are so, well, aloof. It's what I sense in the mud and the roots of the trees, or the well, or the barn, or the rock with its citron map of lichen that halts my feet and makes my eyes flare, feeling the presence of some spirit, some small god who abides there. If I were a perfect person, I would be bowing continuously. I'm not, though I pause wherever I feel this holiness, which is why I'm often so late coming back from wherever I went. Forgive me. Mary Oliver, you are forgiven 100 times over. And may your flight into eternity be joyous and memorable. Or do let us know, please. Richard Huttel, his book of poems called That Said. I've got a few marked here. And is there a picture of him here? Yeah, there is, but it won't show up in this light. I'll be lucky if I show up in this light. My illustrious career. Yes, you say, let's cut the shit and tell each other how we truly feel. The clubs of your diplomats rest. There you stand, frozen before the water hazard, paddleized for years at hole number 6. Play on through, you scream at those less anxious. Oh my yes, let's do cut the crap. Surrounded by cemeteries out on Memorial Day, trapped in a siege of 21 gun salutes. Oak Lawns Ranch Manor. Subdivision rings with the battlefield echoes of the generals for which its streets are named. Dean, Wainwright, Arnold, Stilwell, Grant. I delivered morning newspapers back then, and I delivered an awful lot of bad news. Fell asleep watching Bobby Kennedy's California primary victory speech on TV. And hours later, I was throwing written details of his assassination up on welcome mats. Another spring morning after a tornado sliced the roller rink in half. It snowed like popcorn, and it stuck to the trees. At 5 a.m., I peeked out of the picture window, shuddering. Has the atmosphere changed? But luckily, musical selections of Jerry G. Bishop on Super CFL kept me going. Only made a penny a paper, but time brought thick blue denim CPO shirts and many mint US commemoratives with white borders to mount in my red All-American stamp album. After daily rounds came toast, tea, the Tribune, then on to Mrs. Wisdom and 8th grade with the sons and daughters of World War II and Korea. That fall, the Huttel family moved to the Golf Center of the World, Orland Park, Illinois. Ben Hogan High, where water towers are painted green, tea stems with white ball tops. In 1968, it was like walking into a Wyeth painting. Boy in coonskin cap, riding bike in dust along a prairie path, faithful dog trailing behind. And it could have been 143rd Street and LaGrange Road, but now the whole damn town looks like Cincinnati. Play on through. Time stops. Suddenly you are what's happening, not waiting your heartbeats like Motown. Not so busy proclaiming your revolution to forget to do it. The shadow of your writing implement wags against the wall like a finger with no hand. On top of the world. Monday, 25th July. All optimistic projections of preparedness are dashed. We are not quite packed. Light timers have not yet been programmed. The bills have not been paid. A manic morning will get us down the driveway by noon, and maybe we'll go pedal to the metal on the interstates that shadow old Route 66. 20 years ago, I would have dressed all this up in my mind as some kind of all gone to look for America baloney. But as it is, I'll settle for pulling up to my sister's family's place in Albuquerque by sunset Tuesday. So I guess he's given up that Paul Simon directive. We've all come to look for America. When I arrived in Canada in '68 and read of America's troubles in the '60s, civil rights, Vietnam, all that sort of thing, I felt like young Americans were on the road looking for America. I really did. It looked that way to me, coming from the sort of semi-ancient culture of Britain, where we weren't looking for anything there particularly. Except maybe a good time while we listened to Sgt. Pepper and, Pepper at the Gates of Dawn. Orange. As the sun rose over the morning after their first night together, she opens the window with an eastern view. He says, "Wow, Look at that Land Cruiser in the driveway. I want one. She says, yeah, I know. You told me. Would you like an orange? She pulls two from a bowl on the counter, bites into one, and hands him the other. He bites into it too. Inserting her thumb into peel, she fails to take it off in one piece. So does he. Arranging the fragments on the table, she says, clouds. He puts three together and sees Xinjiang, Sichuan, and Manchuria. He says, China. Years later, he won't know where she is, or things like whether or not she's still alive, or things like when she opened the window, whether or not he should have seen something else. Picture window for J. Miller. Sometimes in the middle of winter, I sit where shaft of sunlight falls upon the couch, sometimes even the floor, like a damned old dog, and look through my picture window at an upward angle. It might as well be dream of arboretum, bare, brittle, honey, locust branches, delicate as fine lace lattice, fierce and fragile as web. Sometimes at night, incoming airplane lights stretch outward across the horizon for miles, streaming towards me, over me, in slow, embery pulses. Dazzling as transcontinental Ferris wheel, like so many yellow jackets returning to nest at dusk. Sometimes Jerry Garcia doing Dear Mr. Fantasy. Sometimes even other people's poems. Sometimes Monk playing Nice Work If You Can Get It, throwing in a full measure of Harrigan, that's me, because it's fun, because it's funny, because it's there. Sometimes rolling around Earth inside Medicine Wheel atop Bald Mountain ridgeline on the heavenly side of Chinaman's Hat. Waves of grasshoppers at noon. Poetry. You are hot coals popping out of fires into unsuspecting laps. You are sunflowers, mammoth Russians, springing from lucky tiny seeds. You are intimations of the human beings we might be amid the malaise. You are the first rush of air into newborn lungs. You are care of the cow, reality maintenance, weeding the garden. You are some kind of way out of here, and you are wherever you are found. So many good days to die. I return from the journey southeast with many new reasons and so much to do. I dial numbers for minimum wages, yet during this unexpected year, surprising rich blessings fall into my lap like so many magnetic alphabet letters spelling so many good days to die. What is the source of this magic? I feel like a wheel with no rim, my spokes flaying outward in every direction and nowhere to go. And so I indulge in the folly of mere reinvention. What a waste! What folly! What fun! And God, I have fun! Thank you. You show me how to honor the world, and the world honors me with long-legged spiders of red Roman candles, and broccoli, and relative health, and Emily restlessly waiting to be born, and talk at big tables, kegs full of beer, and all kinds of music with heart and soul, and words, and sages, this elementary backstroke. At least one miracle every day, and peace, and struggle, and you. Thank you, Richard Huttel. I will remember these poems and will remember this book, even though I did not know you. Although I know other people that did, and they certainly miss you. Those friends of yours miss you already. And I don't miss you, but I wish you well. And I hope your residence in the Elysian fields is working out well for you. And that you're finding that too as a place where you can utter poetic and ramble rhythmic. For poetry is eternal. It works on every plane, and it speaks across time and distance as though they were nothing. In fact, they are nothing. So, I mean, I should be reading some, some ancient Greek, Herodotus or Hesiod or Rumi. Well, Rumi's really going back there. But that's what I feel. It's all eternal dialogues going through time and space, reflecting culture and yet transmuting culture, refusing history, relying on love, relying on language to look at that love. Mary Oliver, Richard Huttel, this is my salute to your lives and work. Blessings, and blessings to Poetry Show. I was going to say readers, but no, you don't read Poetry Show, you listen. And for that, I will give thanks once again.